Say something now, right?
You do your thing.
Put your mama in. She's never very interested in letting the calf nurse right away because she wants to go eat. We've had a lot of questions about what we're feeding her. So let's talk about that in today's video.
Get her a little, yeah, it's ready, babe.
People want to know where my cheese cloth is. The expression goes, if you ask 3 different people how to feed a cow, you're going to get 3 different answers. This is what we do personally and strictly as far as dairy cows, because I don't have any beef. And if you've ever walked like down the fair aisles of the cow barns, you'll notice that the beef and the dairy cows cattle look very different. The beef are like little square blocks, while the dairy, they call it being dairy character, so they're much more refined looking. Would you stop? Switch my head around. Think of the difference in like a bodybuilder versus, say, a ballerina. That's like beef versus dairy. In a dairy cow, you should see bones. But there is a line where there can be too many bones you're seeing, or you can not be seeing enough. And that kind of gives you a hint as to what condition your cow is in. For optimal breeding and milking condition, you want them to be the right body condition score. Now we've had some ask, like, I can see your cow's bones, why is she so skinny? She's not actually skinny. For me, she's in pretty nice condition, and I know that because she's coming into regular heats. Plus, she's giving me milk and also feeding her calf. The fact that she's coming into regular heats tells me that her body is getting enough fuel that her body's saying, we can support another pregnancy, that's fine. As far as feeding, what we do now for feed is kind of different than maybe what a conventional dairy does, because I'm not pushing her for maximum production. So she gets around 3 pounds of grain twice a day. Once in the morning, keeps her happy during milking. And she probably gets maybe a pound in the evening, just because I'll use that to get her and Luna out of the field to put Luna in at night. What she's getting is a 16% dairy ration that we get from our grain farmer up in New York, who used to be local, but we really love his product. And we bought a lot before we moved, so that's what I'm still feeding. And I throw in a little alfalfa cubes in there. I break them in half, slows her down eating, plus a little alfalfa peanut butter. The rule of thumb traditionally is 3 pounds of grain for every pound of milk she's producing. Now we're not quite giving her that because if I get a gallon a day, that's 8 pounds. I should be feeding her more, especially seeing as what the calf's taking. The rest of the time, she's on grass and hay. She doesn't touch the hay right now though because there's so much pasture. But that's enough for her. I'm giving her enough grain because her body condition's really nice. Now in winter, when she's not on the grass, last year I didn't have a really nice quality hay at the end of the winter. It wasn't enough. I noticed her getting a little skinny, so I upped her grain a little bit. I don't have any issues feeding grain. Cows are not wild animals. And even if they were in the wild, they would still be getting grain in their diet. And there is a certain percentage of grain you could feed a cow without messing up the pH in their rumen, which is what people are concerned about. The pH in the rumen, I see you. The pH in the rumen getting messed up and allowing unhealthy things to thrive in the cow. So if we keep the grain a little lower than what maybe commercially is more popular. So if I don't feed her too much grain, all her levels will be fine. She'll still be giving us really healthy milk. All right, I'm gonna put Luna on here. Maybe I'll left her out a little more there. Our goal was to grass feed, because grass fed is the best milk you can get. But grass feeding is complicated, much more complicated than I ever thought. It seemed easy, like just put them out on grass, you'll be fine. But you really have to consider the nutrient level of your grass. You have to consider what kind of grass they're eating, how mature the grass is, at what point are you letting them out to graze, and how quickly do your pastures rejuvenate to put them back out there. I'm just starting to learn about all this stuff, and it is a lot to learn about. Grass feeding would for us also include hay feeding in the winter because we don't have pasture all year round. 6 months out of the year we're feeding hay. We really have to make sure we're getting the best quality hay we can get for her to help her be in good condition. If we don't have good hay like at the end of winter last, we would have to start feeding her more grain, which is what I did. I supplemented her with some beet pulp, alfalfa pellets. Chaff hay is a good one. It's a fermented alfalfa. So that helped her keep good condition at the end of last winter while I was milking her and letting Luna on her all day. Plus, we started feeding the goats at the end of last winter too. So it is a complicated thing to strictly grass feed a cow, and there are producers out there who have been doing it for years. Now, that wasn't necessary. What helps me to keep a good handle on how she's doing, if we're giving her enough feed, is to pay attention to her body condition. All right. That's good. There have been studies that show that it's okay for cows to get some grain to from 1 to 2% of their body weight, it's okay for them to get that grain. It won't mess with the pH level in their rumen too much. I'll read you what the breeder said who we got Ladybug from. I was asking last winter about what we could feed. What they said is, we don't mind some grain, but we are against excess use. A cow will get some grain in nature when they eat the mature seed heads, but they don't get 10 to 15 pounds and more like many Jerseys get, which is enough to make them acidotic and upset the balance of starch digesting versus cellulose digesting bacteria in the gut. Studies show that a cow can safely have up to 1 to 2% of her weight in grain a day, depending on the study.
Did you mention how cows would get grain in the wild?
Yeah, that's what the email says. So we always say we're not dealing with a wild animal, but if in the wild it's something they would be getting, we're not too worried about feeding her some grain. And then I wanted to pull up a body condition this cool one online that shows you the different angles of the cows. So we start from body condition score of 1, very lean. Lean is 2, good is 3, 4 is fat, 5 is very fat. Notice when they're very fat, you can still see some hip bones. We're going for 3, good here with Ladybug.
Say that last we're going for.
We're going for 3, which is good for Ladybug. You can still see some ribs, but nothing is too protruding, nothing is too prominent here. This is not an easy thing to do. You look at these pictures quickly and you're like, okay, I see 5 cows, they all look the same. But they have a lot of these charts where you can see side by side, and eventually I have started to recognize a really skinny cow and a really fat cow. Those fat cows just look like little shells. Another thing I used to tell if she's getting enough nutrients is the condition of her coat. Is it shiny? Her coat doesn't look real shaggy or rough this time of year. She should be sleek and shiny. She looks sleek and shiny. She's not fuzzy, she's not rough. That tells me she's getting enough nutrition. She's getting enough food that she needs to support Luna and me milking, as well as preparing her body to have another calf. So she could support a pregnancy right now without a problem. If she's too skinny, she won't come back in the heat. If she's too fat, she'll be hard to breed as well, which is why you don't want to get a dairy cow too fat or too skinny. You need to get that sweet spot right in the middle. Now, if she were getting too thin for me right now, I wouldn't want to increase her protein because that would make her increase more milk. She would be... Some cows, they say milk off their back. We wouldn't want to make her milk off her back at the risk of her being too thin and not come back into a solid heat. We would be increasing her carbs with beet pulp, something like that. That would give her more fat without increasing her milk production at all. If you're wondering about hay, where to find good hay, what good hay should look like, we'll cover that in a future video. Because now's the time to buy your second cutting.
In tomorrow's episode of Homesteady, my son and I take to the woods for an afternoon of adventure. We have some run-ins with the local wildlife.
Who's right there.
And wind up at the end of the day with a really nice surprise.
That was a really fun day.
Yep.
Tune in tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time to check that. Do you love our daily videos? You can help us produce them without spending an extra penny. When you shop on Amazon, type in amsteady.com first, and that will forward you on to Amazon. We get a little bit of a bonus for sending you there, which helps us do this show. You can also click on that Amazon link right there. You can support us without spending a penny extra by shopping through Homesteady. Thank you.